Good morning, it's Monday, it's Jenny with you for some Give It 10 at 10 with Jen. So a little bit late again, I always seem to be running late on these broadcasts, I don't know where the morning goes. But anyway, it's a new week. Thank you so much for your support last week. I had a bit of a wobble last week of menopause-tastic, hot flushes, brain just all over the place. And of course, the week ended for me with a bit of a slap to my confidence with my back going, and I have been beset with back problems for a couple of years now. And in fact, that's what's led me to what I'm going to talk about today with imposter syndrome. We're going to get onto that in a minute, but as with all these Give It 10s at 10, we're going to start with a Give It 10. Excuse me. And being as it's Monday, we're going to start with some breathing. Now, we did this last Monday, and I think I might make this a Monday thing, is just basically taking time to just calm ourselves down, be in the moment, be present, and we're going to do some box breathing. So it's going to be a bit strange for anyone joining me halfway through, but we're going to do 10 breaths. We're going to breathe in for the count of 4. We're going to hold it for the count of 4. Then we're going to breathe out for the count of 4. And then we're going to hold that for the count of 4. And we're going to do that 10 times. Okay? So if you're with me then, let's just, as I say, just put everything aside for a minute. Focus on yourself. Focus on being here. Focus in the moment. And let's take 10 nice, deep, calming breaths. All right, so when you're ready, let's do it. So I made all these little things to count, so if anyone joins us halfway through, they might get a clue for what we're doing. Okay, so let's take that first breath. So breathing in. Actually, I don't know if you saw those. It looks like those numbers were probably underneath the screen. But anyway, I wrote some numbers down on a piece of paper just to remind myself of where we were. So, morning, Jim. Morning, Soad. So that was our 10 Give It 10 box breaths, just to kind of calm our brains down, be in the moment, get focused, and just taking that few minutes to yourself. So, I'm going to talk about imposter syndrome this morning because my back going last week reminded me of how I felt the first time my back went, and I tried to rehab it and it went again. And that led me to feeling like very much an imposter as a personal trainer. You know, how can I train other people if I can't even rehab myself, if I can't get my back right? So I thought, and it's something that that came up in my life when I was in the Royal Air Force as well. I used to be an air traffic controller. And I remember being very overwhelmed by it. To be honest, I didn't really enjoy the job very much. I was kind of talked into it because I passed the aptitude to be an air traffic controller. Morning, Heidi. Yes, I passed the aptitude to be an air traffic controller, and not many people do. So when you do, they really push you into it. And I didn't really enjoy it. And I remember going to my boss one day and saying, you know what, I just feel like I'm going to be found out one day. I can't do it. I feel like I'm a fraud. And this is my boss, who I really respected, who just seemed to love the job, who just was dynamic, and very charismatic and engaging, and he used to sit down at the screen and he was just wheeling and dealing, and he just seemed to have it. And I told him that I just felt like I couldn't do the job. Hi Sarah, hi Heidi. I nearly called you Sarah again. And he sat me down and said, and I'd never heard of the phrase imposter syndrome, and he sat me down and said, you're suffering from something that's called imposter syndrome. He said, so many people get it. In fact, I was doing some research this morning, and apparently something like 70% of the population suffer from imposter syndrome at some point in their lives, either temporarily or, at a certain point in their job or their life or whatever they're doing. And some people, it's just something they feel all the time. And he sat me down and said, yes, I feel that way too. And it blew me away to find out that he felt that way too. But basically, it's very much a feeling, and it's a case of you can't necessarily take that feeling away, but you can change your thought patterns around that feeling to get you through it. And I've got a couple of things here that maybe might help you. I've got I was trying to come up with 10. I always try and come up with 10 points when I do these broadcasts. I got to 9 and then I ran out of time. That's why I was running a bit late. So I've got 9 things for you to think about when it comes to imposter syndrome. So the first one is basically what I just said. Talk about it. Depending on where you are and what it is, and whether it's a job or your personal life or whatever, tell them how you're feeling. And I bet, say that time I told my boss, he told me he felt the same, but he just did it anyway. And that made me feel a whole lot better. So if the situation's right for you and you're in a situation where you might be able to talk to someone, tell someone about it. Why not? The next thing I want to say to you is look at the facts, okay? During that time when you're feeling like a fraud, when you're feeling like a fake, just look around you and think about what it is that you're doing. Does the evidence match your feelings? 9 times out of 10, I bet it doesn't. I bet you 9 times out of 10, actually, you're cracking on, you're doing it, and you're feeling like you're in the wrong place or you're being a fraud. But actually, look at your successes, look at what you're doing, look at your job. Believe me, you wouldn't be in that situation if you were a fraud. Okay, so recognize that, look at the facts and be really objective about the facts. Write it down if you need to, but think about that. Your third point for this morning is perfectionism. So many of us, me included, are real perfectionists. And we feel if we're not getting it absolutely spot on, that we're a fraud. But what is spot on? What is perfectionism? Perfectionism can stop us from doing so much and hold us back so much. So it's healthy to want to do your best, absolutely, but don't obsess about it. Just get out there and do it, do your best. And again, that comes back to number 2, what are the facts? Can you do your job? Can you get on with it? Ditch that perfectionism, because it can be such a block to success. And that kind of comes on to the fourth one is failing forwards. So yes, you're trying to be you're a perfectionist, but if you do take that step and you do try to just go and get stuff done and it fails, a failure isn't a failure. A failure is only a failure if you stop and then, just give up. Fail forward. Henry Ford said, what did Henry Ford say? Failure is only the opportunity to begin again and to begin more intelligently. So I read a great book. I can't find where it's on the bookshelf there. It's called Fail Forward or Failing Forward. And it's a really, really good book because it's all about learning from your mistakes. Learn, recognize, look at what went wrong, or look at what didn't go quite right, or look at what you could have done differently. And use that to propel yourself forward. I think Thomas Edison, that's a very famous quote, but he failed something like, over 1,000 times when he was trying to invent the light bulb. Imagine if he'd given up after the first time or second time or 100th time or 999th time. He kept on going till he got it right. Okay, so keep failing forward. Learn from what didn't work last time and try again. Okay, but recognize, this is number 5, recognize that you'll never know everything. Besides, what is everything? And it's very subjective as well, because everyone's got a different opinion on things. So what you believe to be, everything about that thing, we're constantly evolving. The world's constantly evolving. Knowledge is constantly evolving. Technology is constantly evolving. You'll never know everything. Okay, so just, commit to learning, commit to doing your best, but don't feel like you need to know everything all the time, okay? Ask for help. You know, if there's something you don't know, just be prepared to ask for help, okay? Number 6, rewrite your internal dialogue. When that little voice comes up to you and says, wait till they find out that I don't know what I'm doing, wait till they find out I'm a fraud, you know, just bash that voice down, rewrite that internal dialogue and tell yourself, you know, be kind to yourself, recognize that, you know, that's not helping you, and come up with a new phrase. And it might depend on what you're doing. If you're doing something brand new, then, you know, you can't be expected to know everything, and just recognize that, you know, be sensible, look at the facts. Again, come back to number 2, look at the facts. Can you learn something more? Should you have taken a bit more time to understand it? Be kind, recognize where you are, recognize what you can do better, fail forwards, what are the facts? Don't be a perfectionist, rewrite that internal dialogue. Number 7, visualize success. So what does success look like? How can this be, you know, next time round, or the next time you're doing it? And visualize yourself being successful at that thing that you feel like you're being a fraud. And actually, that brings me on to the point, is like, if you feel like you're being a fraud, are you actually enjoying what you're doing? You know, that's a big thing to think about. If you're not enjoying it, do something else. You know, sometimes you have to recognize that actually, you know, you feel like a fraud because you're not really enjoying what you're doing. So if you're not prepared to learn a little bit more, fail forward, take satisfaction in almost failing and learning more and studying more, asking people for help, rewriting that internal dialogue, talking about how you're feeling. If you're not comfortable with all that, perhaps you are in the wrong place. But reward yourself. So when you've done something and things are working well, or even if they're not working well, you know, and I'm not talking about rewarding yourself with a chocolate cake and biscuits, you know, maybe reward yourself with a bit of time out, reward yourself however you want to do that. Of course, I'm talking health and fitness rewards. But no, however you want to reward yourself, you know, take yourself out for a walk, go and get your nails done, go for a massage, do a bit of reading, listen to some music, you know, watch a movie, whatever a reward means for you, in line with your goals. But make sure you do recognize and reward yourself, because not everyone's going to give you a pat on the back. We all want to be recognized by other people. We all want other people to say, oh, well done. But that doesn't always happen. Sometimes you have to just recognize yourself what you've done, because sometimes other people aren't going to know how difficult it's been for you to get through that situation, whatever that situation is. They might feel it comes naturally to you. I'll be honest, these lives, for me, I feel like a bit of a fraud sometimes giving this advice. For me, I feel huge anxiety before I hit that live. You know, it does get better, and I've been doing it probably a couple of months now, but it's a big thing. And for, you know, maybe for people watching, they might feel that it, you know, they might think that it's coming easy to me, but it doesn't. But so, you know, sit back, reward yourself, even if it's just, you know, going off and having a cup of tea. Be kind to yourself, reward yourself. And finally, my last point is kind of, now, I don't really like the phrase fake it till you make it, because that can bring up all sorts of connotations, but there's definitely some truth in there. You have to take risks. You have to challenge yourself. You have to go out there and do something. There has to be a first time for everything. So yes, put on your bravest smile, put on your, you know, put on your war paint, put on your face, put on whatever it is. You know, a lot of people advocate, I can't remember who it is, but, you know, standing up and stepping into this persona that perhaps you're going to give yourself a like a superhero name. I always used to call myself the Force. I step into the Force, and then I step into what I'm going to go and do. So, you know, give yourself a superhero name. Give yourself a fake it till you make it kind of persona. Put that cloak on, if you like, and walk into that situation. Fake it till you make it, if that's what you want to call it. Anyway, that's it from me for today. I hope you've had some taken something from that. As I said, for me, with my back, I've suffered massive imposter syndrome in my ability to coach others, because I've struggled with my back rehab, and I know what it is. It's because I haven't done what I need to do. And when I'm doing what I need to do, I feel so much stronger, so much better. But I know a couple of times that imposter syndrome's reared its ugly head and said, "How can you train others when you can't even look after yourself?" But going through that list, looking at the facts, and the facts are I've trained tons of people to lose weight and to feel better and to get faster and to get stronger. So the facts are, I can coach other people. The facts are I haven't perhaps been so good with my own owning my own stuff and owning my own training. Anyway, that's it from me for today. Thanks ever so much for joining me for this Mindset Monday. Tomorrow we're on nutrition. If there's anything you want to talk about, if you have any questions, if you have anything specific with your nutrition you want to address, let me know. If not, I will come up with something and we'll talk about that tomorrow for Nutrition Tuesday. Have a great rest of your week, and I will see you tomorrow. Lots of love to you all. Toodaloo.